here on a cold day. My name is Gwen Setinc. My maiden name was Seeley. My parents came from Minnesota here and homesteaded. And my father's name was Frank Ezekiel Seeley. My mother's maiden name was Vera Florence Grove. And well, my father was killed in a working accident when I was 2. He left 4 little kids, 5 to 6 months old, for my mother to raise. It wasn't, of course, his fault. Had there been better doctors and meds, he maybe would have survived, but under the circumstances, he didn't. So we grew up. Later years, my mother remarried Rex Bruce, who was my stepfather, and to that reunion there was born 2 more children, and he raised us, the 3 boys and myself, as if we were his very own blood. He was an excellent father, even though he was a stepfather. And it was hard times in the late 20s and 30s, and there wasn't much work, but he ended up being on WPA, which the government provided $44 a month. This is for 5 children and 2 adults to live on. Back in the 30s, it wasn't easy, but we didn't know any different because everyone around us was about in the same position. So, do you want to ask me any questions?
I just would like you to continue on the way you are. That's fine. Did you go to high school here?
Yes, I went to school here. There was only 2 schools. Grade school is still here on the east side of town. I attended that. And then the high school was right on First Street here, and I attended school there. And I got married, raised 5 children, 3 boys, 2 girls. 1 daughter remains in Baker, Pam Owens. The rest of them are in other towns, but they're all hanging in there, doing well as they could be expected. But in the hard times, we would go through the alleys. Now, this is hard to believe, and go into the dumpsters. There were small dumpsters, we could get in them, and the grocery stores would throw partially ruined, rotten peaches, whatever out. We'd eat the good part out of the dumpster. Now this is real, this happened. And one time we were in the dumpster behind Rexall Drug, and there's all kinds of boxes of candy in there. Great, we were excited. We started eating it, and then all of a sudden we saw worms crawling in the candy. So we didn't eat any more, but I guess we never got the worms. They must have died. But
you said that your father was hurt at the carbon black plant?
Okay, my father worked out there, and that is where, at the carbon black plant is where he was killed. There was a conveyor belt. I don't know, I mean, I was only 2, but I was told this, that a conveyor belt caught his clothes and took him around the building and banging him on, ripped all of his clothes off. And that was where he worked. And we lived out there, and there were 4 houses out there. Apparently there was 4 different employees that had homes out there. And we lived in one, and Haglers lived in another one, Glenn Stark lived in another one, and John Vanell lived in the 4th one, and he was kind of the supervisor, I think. He had the biggest house, and he was a little up on the hill. He didn't like our big Alaskan Husky dog, but we liked him.
Do you know how long that carbon black plant existed?
Well, I don't think it existed too long. I don't know. We still lived out there. I was in the 2nd grade, so that would have been born 24, 32 or 3, somewhere in there. it, we still lived out there, but I don't recall it was still in operation, as far as the knowledge that I do have. So, anyway, it was hard growing up. We had one set of clothes. There was no money. I mean, and they put food out like they do now, once a month, and we'd go get our rations. That helped us survive, I guess, but we never complained. We never knew any different. This is the way it was. Never had inside plumbing or washing machine until I was a freshman in high school.
What did you and your husband do for a living after you got married?
Well, I was married. I've been married twice. My first husband and I had 2 boys, and we lived pretty much in Plevna. Moved a lot. Went to Cut Bank. From there we went to Portland. Then we came back to Baker, and then we went to Plevna. And I'm through. I'm running. I said, I want my boys and myself. If I'm going to have nothing and roam the country, I'll do it by myself. So I left. Then later years, I married Martin Setinc, and we had 3 children. And he worked for the MDU for he came home from the service, which he had enlisted and been overseas for 4 years, and in battle. And he worked for a year, and then his father passed away. So we moved to the ranch at Mill Iron, and we were out there, well, maybe 2 years. And I said, you know, I don't want my kids to live out here. We don't have electricity. We don't have a phone. I'm moving back to town. We had a home in Baker. I said, I'm moving to town. So this is what we did. And he went back to work for the MDU and retired from the MDU. Passed away 5 or 6 years ago.
All of your kids went to school here?
Yep, they all graduated from school in Baker, all 5 of them. And their kids, the ones who remained here, their children graduated from high school here.